Welcome to this new Flight Simulator update movie. In this movie we're gonna look at Rome, which has received a lot of point of interest, but also the photogrammetry update. We're currently flying pretty high, so we're gonna decrease the altitude. So our direction has already been set to Rome. So the city already, I would say, is seen in front of us. It's an amazing city and it received a lot of updates, including the famous Vatican, right, where the Pope is. That also received an update. So let's have a look at it. So first we're gonna decrease the altitude because we're flying simply too high. You can see that it's, I would say, it's a little bit bumpier compared to Venice, which I recorded a video about earlier. But still, it's, I would say it's doable, right? So what we need to do is have a closer look, because what we will probably see within a few minutes / seconds, we see a lot of point of interest, right? And there you already have them, right? So you can see that, I would say, all those blue markers are the point of interest. I would say huge ones, including of course the soccer stadium, which is, I would say, what we saw already with multiple other world updates, right? Churches, say famous old buildings, but also soccer stadia are the, I would say, recipe for, or the ingredients, I should say, for world updates. So we're gonna decrease our altitude a little bit further. Continuously turning, right? So this is from, I would say, high level. So on high level we can already see some, I would say, some famous buildings, right? The Stadio della Farnese, Fora Italico, and then another soccer stadium, right? So, or at least sports stadium, I should say. It looks like that these are pretty close to each other. Make sure that I decrease instead of increase altitude. So I'm gonna adjust the trim a bit I said, not too much, because we don't want to go completely crazy in overspeed. So Rome has been updated as part of World Update number 9, right, which has been released earlier today. It received massive updates, so we can see that it received already tons of point of interest. I would say at least both Rome and Venice. I think I made the joke that Venice was probably having most point of interest per square meter, but if you look at Rome, it's also a lot. Although they are more focused to the city center, right, which is what we normally also see with other world updates, compared to Venice, where it was also a little bit outside of the city center. So here we can see some buildings, right? Let's see if we can pop up the labels, because in some cases the labels are not popping up correctly yet. Can also see that sometimes requires some time to build up the scenery. So some large squares below us. Train stadium, as it looks like. So where are we? 4,000 feet, right? So in front of us there's even, I would say, a small airport, right? It's a really small one, only with one runway, as it looks like. But here's the city itself. So let's open the VFR map, because then we can see which airport it is. And sorry for ruining the view, because you now can see the VFR map. You're probably more interested in the content. So that's Lima India Romeo uniform. That's the airport, which is just in front of us. As you could see, it's a relatively small one. So here we have multiple musea and also the soccer stadium, as it looks like. Let's see from which soccer club it is. It's Studio Olimpico. And just like Venice, we see a lot of jets flying low over, but also a lot of point of interest and a lot of detail, right? A lot of green, so a lot of nature, but also a lot of buildings pretty close to each other. Let's keep an eye on the speed. Speed is okay. But here you can see they're really concentrated to the city center and probably a little bit outside, because the Vatican is a little bit outside, right? And that's, I think we're flying over it as we speak. So let's go, I would say, outside of the cockpit, right? And let's do the wheel view. There we've got Villa Pamphili. And here we've got the Basilica di San Pietro. Yeah, so this is the Vatican, which currently shown below us, right? Including the famous square. And here you can see the detail, right? So they added an enormous amount of detail compared to the default content. So these are the buildings and the point of interest which received extra attention, which means that they simply are, I would say, handmade, hand-created. And that's compared to what you're seeing now. Right, these are, I would say, it's also great content, but it's not as detailed as, I would say, the things which we all saw at the point of interest. And same thing is applicable to this point of interest, right, just below us. Trastevere. Also some bridges, of course. Those are also, I would say, the perfect ingredients for the world update. Rosetta Roma Capitale. Circo Massimo. And then Stadio Nando Martellini. Villa Celimontana. And then, of course, we want to have a look at some other buildings. Some basilics over there, some ports. The Colosseum. Or the Colosseo, as they call it here. But here you again, right? Look at the detail, right? Look at, I would say it looks really amazing. Piazza Vittorio Emanuele. Too much point of interest to completely review, right? But I'm pretty impressed by all the details. Also this building which we're just flying over. Look at the roof work. It even contains all the details, right? You can really see it. So here we've got probably Central Station. And some other nice buildings over here. Piazza di Siena. Villa Borghese. Can increase the power a bit. Guess we're going a little bit too slow. So I would say a lot of nice things, a lot of details, again a lot of point of interest. I do think that based on the other reviews of the other cities in the other world updates, they spent an enormous amount of time adding a point of interest to the cities, especially to the ones we just looked at, right? Rome, but also Venice. I need to look at the other buildings, which or at the other cities, sorry, which received updates. But these two are having really a tons of point of interest, which is, I would say, really cool to see. It would be nice if they would have added these kind of details also to some other cities in the other world updates. So this is where our update movie ends. I hope you liked it. In this movie we looked at Rome and at the updates which the city received, both the photogrammetry content but also the point of interest. Again, I hope you liked it. If you liked it, consider to use the like button. If you got questions or comments, then feel free to post them in the comment box below. And if you want to stay up to date about new videos I'm creating, then make sure that you're subscribing to my channel. Thanks for watching and see you next time.